What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we did end up getting the Crew Showcase showing a bunch of interesting stuff. I'm actually going to admit I'm pretty dang impressed by it. One thing that did stand out to me in the beginning of the video of the showcase though is the fact that they actually said we can confirm an offline patch for the Crew 2 and they also have plans for the Crew Motorfest. That is incredible news. I am actually most likely going to make a separate video on this because that is legit amazing. But after that though, they're then going to show a small trailer basically going into the actual new island, which is going to be Maui. I actually believe they're going to be showing something pretty awesome, which is the Porsche 911 GT3 RS. So awesome to see that thing. We're then going to see the blue electric car from the trailer, which I think is the Rimac. Could be wrong. Then we're also going to see that green car, which I think is a Polestar. Not 100% sure on what that thing actually is, but looks pretty dang interesting for the most part. Then they did end up showing some of the new map, guys. I have to admit the map does look really good. It's going to be really pretty looking. I love the colors of it. Now, I do know some people might argue that, yeah, man, the colors look like the other map. What do you mean? Well, it still looks really good. Like, graphically, I have to admit, I'm really impressed. You're also then going to see a different part in the trailer, guys, that I was like, wait a second. If you're actually looking at the scene with the red Jeep Gladiator, you're probably going to notice something right off the bat with it. Yes, the mirrors are actually working finally, guys. This is something everybody has been asking for. I'm actually really happy they are adding them because a lot of the cars were a bit weird having like blurriness in them, but now no, we're actually going to have full working mirrors, which is incredible. I also do have to admit, I feel like that's something people have been asking for in literally every update. Like, they really did want that, so it looks like they are listening. Besides that, though, you're also going to see, like, the visuals of the map. Again, I think it looks pretty dang awesome. Really looking forward to the off-roading aspect to it, because I do feel like those off-roading areas, and we might actually get a bunch of rallycross races and a bunch of new rally raid events, so I'm really excited for this. And I do feel like you also have, like, the suburb driving, a small city and stuff like that, so there's going to be a small mix of everything. The next thing I did want to talk about though is going to be the new Made in Japan Volume 2 playlist. This one is actually looking pretty dang awesome, guys, I have to admit. They are literally introducing something brand new into this playlist, which if you are wondering, I do believe this playlist comes out in December, so it's not coming out in November, at least from what I have seen with it. But it's okay though because it looks like it's going to bring a bunch of new stuff in this one, which I would also like to think that maybe the future playlist might have something similar to it. That way it's really going to keep so many players occupied in it. The new thing they're actually introducing into this playlist though is going to be called the Rivals Race Board. There is going to be a bunch of different racers you actually have to go against, and that you actually have to beat every single one of them. Of course, each racer is going to get you money and XP, and it looks like you're going to get parts from them, and you actually have to go to the set area where they're actually going to be, then you do end up challenging them. And this is actually a really cool thing to introduce into the game. So not only do you have to go find the racers, which they are going to be similar to like a photo op if you guys are wondering. So if you're actually looking for them, it will give you like the general location where they are. Then you can actually go there and there's going to be like a circle. Once that actually loads up, then you'll actually do a small race duel against them, which I think is a pretty cool concept. I like this. I'm not 100% sure if like you get the cars after the said race, but that would also be pretty dang cool if they added something like that. They also then left a small teaser for Season 6 afterwards, which do let me know, guys, what you think about that one. What do you think the colors actually mean? I'm curious. After that, though, they're then going to be talking about quality of life improvements coming, and I'm actually excited to see what they do end up bringing. I do know everybody's asking for stuff. One thing I would personally like to see if it's going to be a very small thing, at least let me be able to actually see what part sets I have on my vehicles. Like, at least give me that small icon on that said part set that I'm running. That way I don't actually have to go through 7 different vehicles to find the chemist set that I actually want to run. The next thing they did end up talking about though, guys, is going to be pretty interesting. Let me explain why. They are actually going to be introducing a ticket thing into the game that you can actually activate and get the old summit cards from the Crew 2. This is going to be something like the Bugatti Devo Magma Edition. We're also going to be seeing some of the old cars like the S2000. So it is going to be a great way to actually get old summit cars if you might have missed them. Now there is one concern I do have to talk about though. If they are bringing all the old summit cars back, that means they're going to bring all of them back, right? Like from the Crew Motorfest. So if we're actually going to keep doing the summits, they do end up bringing them back into the game afterwards. Then my question right after that though is if you can actually get the car later on because they're always going to bring older summits back in that you can get with a ticket, then why would you actually try hard to summon, go after that exclusive vehicle if it's not going to be exclusive anymore? This is something I have to think about, guys, because I know I've actually been pretty much talking about this way too much about the summits, but if they do end up taking like the exclusivity away from it, what is going to be the point of doing the summits at all? Now, as I have mentioned in older videos, though, maybe they might end up changing around the summits completely, like maybe completely mixing them around, which is honestly needed pretty dang bad at this point. And then at the same time, maybe they can add some new rewards and stuff in there to make it a bit more exclusive because everybody does like doing the summits, and that is going to be a pretty big thing to do at like the end game part of it. That is also going to be a big reason why players go after part sets and stuff because, at the moment you don't even have to grind for them really because they don't do all that much. So if you actually want to get them, you can then do the summits and stuff. And then on top of that, hopefully we get a bunch of PvP game modes that is going to help with the end game. But that's my question though, guys. If they do end up doing that to the summits and they don't change them, do you think that's going to completely ruin them? And then for the next part of the video though, they start talking about the Chase Squad update. I do actually admit it looks pretty dang interesting. On top of that, guys, we're going to be getting a new playlist with this in November. Then we're also going to then be getting the new one in December, which is going to be the Japan one. So at least we're going to get a ton of new content. We're also then going to get a few new events in that playlist, which for this one, it's going to be similar to like the Hoonigan update, to where you have to like hit the actual gate. Like if you hit the wrong one, you lose your bonus. If you hit the right one, you're actually hitting like the bad guys or something that you're chasing in a police car, and that is probably going to be that set event. After that, guys, we're actually going to have the next new event, which is similar to like an interceptor from something like Need for Speed. This does look pretty interesting. We're also then going to have a timer to where you have to bust the said racer in that time limit. There's also going to be a health bar on the racer every time you hit them. It's of course going to go down. If you actually pin the said racer in like a corner, you will end up arresting them. So it is going to be fairly similar to like a Need for Speed game, or pretty much like the Crew 1 back in the day, where we had the main police update in there. We're also going to see another version of the navigation events, which I don't know how people actually feel about those. Do let me know your thoughts on them in the comments below. But these are basically going to be the exact same thing with like a different touch to it, but you're then going to be driving a new Chase Squad vehicle in it. After that, guys, what kind of made me laugh though is you were able to drive a helicopter. Isn't that something? I actually was kind of surprised at bringing the helicopter back, but at the same time, so many players really wanted to see that thing return into the Crew Motorfest, so that's pretty dope. And then, of course, you're actually going to see another part after that of when they do end up busting another racer. So I would say the entire Chase Squad thing is pretty interesting. They're also then going to have a new thing on the island, guys, where you can go after them. It's actually going to be called the Dynamic Chases. You have to go to that said area similar to the other one that's part of the Japan playlist. You're then going to find the racer, you can activate it, and then take them down. I actually think this is a pretty cool feature. And as far as I do know when looking at the trailer, it looks like it's going to be primarily PvE focused, and I don't actually think you can be a racer. It's only PvE focused as being a cop, which I actually guess does make sense. Maybe they actually had to do it like that on purpose with, a certain company being in the game. Toyota, they're probably going to be one of the big reasons why they did that, but who knows, maybe they might end up adding it in the future. After that, guys, they're then going to show like a circle of a bunch of new vehicles. We have the lovely Ford Mustang Mach-E, which don't know how people feel about that thing. Then we're also going to see the Skyline in the background, guys. That was probably one of the most requested cars ever, like everybody wants it. What's also kind of insane is they actually teased that car a very long time ago, so I'm very happy to see that thing finally being added. After that, though, he's then going to talk about the new Motor Pass, so yes, they are doing it. I do know when I actually made that video, people were like, nah, bro, they're not going to do that. What are you talking about? Well, it does turn out they did end up doing it. The thing about this, though, is they're actually giving it to the Ultimate and the Gold Edition players from what it seems to be for free, which I think is good. I mean, I have to admit, guys, the Ultimate and the Gold Edition being $100 and $120 was a bit ridiculous. In fact, I have to admit it, I felt a tad ripped off paying for that, like not going to lie. So I would actually say giving the Gold and the Ultimate Edition a free pass is a pretty dope move on their part. On top of that, guys, if you are wondering, you're most likely going to have to pay for it if you don't have the Ultimate or the Gold Edition. My guess, though, is it's probably going to be $10 similar to the Crew 2, which honestly does make sense. Like, I do know everyone's like, no, make the entire pass free. Here's the thing though, man, like how are they actually going to make money from Motorfest? We can all 100% agree right now they're probably not making much of anything from it. Like we have to admit that no one's actually buying vanities. That is probably going to be a fact. So having a cool motor pass in there with like maybe $10 or something is my guess isn't a terrible idea if they do end up doing it. I do feel like it's going to be another one in the coming seasons that the Gold Edition and the Ultimate probably won't end up getting. But overall, though, I have to admit the overall showcase was pretty dang impressive. There was one thing I was actually looking for in this showcase, though, that I did not catch anyone talk about. That is going to be new PvP events. And I would probably guess at this point, though, that is going to be the number one requested thing everybody does want. Like, I have to admit right now, guys, if they just add a bunch of new routes for the grand races, and there's not going to be separate PvP events to where you can pick a class and stuff, that is going to be extremely disappointing. And just imagine, though, if they do end up changing the entire summit thing, as I mentioned, and all they still have is the grand races going into year 2, I do feel like that's probably not going to be the best thing that's going to sit with the actual fan base. But do let me know what you guys think about the entire showcase in the comments below. I do admit overall it does look pretty dang awesome. One thing I'm actually insanely excited for is going to be the working mirrors. People have legit been wanting that since the actual beta in Motorfest, man. It has been a minute. I can't wait to see how the different cars work. We're finally going to have mirrors after all of this time. But again, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below.